Hey, I am up. Now y'all can see me in the light. But I just wanted to add some stuff that I wanted to talk about when I was laying down, but I didn't really process how I was going to say it. We do have to address the things that's going on in the black community, right? It's a mess. And I'm not biased. I talk about the mess that's going on in the black community. I talk about us as women. I talk about different topics that affect the real world. So I'm not on here to bash white people or anything like that. So we just want to get that clear. The people that are my day ones, they know that about me, that I'm just a real bitch. I'm as real as they come. I don't sugarcoat shit. I don't fluff shit up to make the next person feel better. But I do be mindful of, not trying to be disrespectful. But I come from the old school, the Angela Bassett days, the Felicia Richards, the Sister Soldiers, all those type of women, strong, melanated women. Um, I say this to say we have a long way to go as a people. And when I say a people, I'm talking about the human race. We have to address the racial tensions. We can't keep pretending and getting all sensitive, because the only way we're going to work together in this mess is by actually being real about it and addressing the real topics. Yesterday, the guy said, this other guy left a message saying how, oh, you want to talk about the sundown towns? What about, black people killing black people? And I had mentioned two things can be true at the same time. You can live in a racist economy, and you also can live in an economy where people turn against each other. But it's the animal nature, it's the nature of the beast. When you put people in a rough situation and an oppressive situation, you might get the worst out of them or you might get the best. That's just the psychology of people. If you look at the poor white communities, they doing the same thing. It's just not publicized. You got the dads probably graping on their daughters in the trailer parks, shooting dope. It's the same thing. It's just that our trauma gets put on the forefront because we're also dealing with oppression from white supremacy. So black people are battling two extreme situations that puts us in a mental crisis. And now it's actually coming on the forefront as to what is the root of the cause. Like I said in a couple of videos before, we have to get to the root of the causes, not just pointing at the symptoms and the byproducts of what's going on, but how did we get here? And part of how we got here is because of white supremacy. It stemmed from being enslaved, and then it stemmed from being mentally enslaved from white supremacy. So if we're going to keep ignoring that, then we're not going to be able to get anywhere. And that's why I'm talking about these real topics. Black people need to feel empowered in this society. A lot of times when we try to start empowerment movements, or because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. We as a people, not just black people, but we as a people are the only way we're going to cure this beast. But not enough people come together to make it happen. The people that want to make change and want to be on the forefront, the soldiers in the battle to make change, is the minority. When I say minority, I'm not talking about black people. We are the minority when it comes to doing the shit that needs to get done. Too many people are afraid. They're afraid of what's to come. For example, not too many people want to start a channel addressing these topics because they don't want to tackle and handle the heat that comes with it. Like you see just me making that video, people want to come and battle me. Battle me for facts that I'm dropping that they know themselves is a fact. So what they'll have to do is bring deflections bring, you know what I liked? Back in the day, we used to talk about these topics and white people would get engaged. And they wasn't, hold on. I remember you had shows like Jerry Springer and those other shows that would actually invite the KKK and get their views, and then there would be a black person sitting right next to the KKK, and they would have a dialect. Sometimes it got a little feisty, but a lot of times it was just a dialect where the KKK people would be like, "Well, we just want our pure race." And it's like, okay, you want your pure race, but why are you over there targeting black people and hanging them and lighting their house on fire? And he's like, well, because we need to teach these people, you can't come into our neighborhoods and think you're going to intermingle with our race because we want to remain pure. So you get to see their perspective and their mentality as to why are you a part of a cult that want to annihilate another race? Like, why do you feel threatened by another race? And then the thing about being black is that you can be black in any race, but a white person can't be white in any race. So it makes you think like, oh, okay, that would be kind of threatening to your extinction when you think about it. If a black person was to mate with any race, that would make that race black. But if a white person was to mix with other races, now they're multi-raced. Now they're considered multi-raced. But you want to keep your race pure, so it's like, oh, in order to keep my race pure, I have to not mix with any other race. Isn't that weird? That they feel like they will become extinct by mixing with other races. So that's why it's like their ideology was like, okay, well, anybody that comes into our town and mix with our people is a threat. So they went on these talk shows and they would talk and explain their side of why they feel the way they feel. And it's like, when you think about it, you're like, okay, not saying they're right, but it makes you see things in the eyes of why they're acting like that, why they're so oppressive. Now, can you change their mindset? Probably not, because if you're born into this mentality and you actually like it, you like the feeling you get out of hurting someone or feeling like you're better than them, then, you know, they probably don't want to step down off that throne. You might have a few Ku Klux Klan members that may have got out of that gang and turned over their life to God or whatever, but sometimes they be afraid to actually leave those type of cults, because those type of cults, you know, they threaten their family, they threaten them. So it's a catch-22 to that type of situation. But I just want it to be where we could put all our cards on the table. Black people, white people, and all other races. And be like, okay, what is the problem you really have with us? And let them explain how they feel. They say, oh, well, we're just mad at, you know, the fact that you guys, you know, you get to just complain and get a free check. And then you show them the trauma that you go through on a daily basis, and they're like, and you ask them, well, do you think you could live like this? Where everywhere you go, there's a possible altercation? Like I told y'all in my other video about the story about that white man that just wouldn't let up and followed me in my truck until he got me fired. Or like, let me tell you about the other incident where another truck driver, a white dude, I was somewhere in the Midwest, and he literally threatened me at the gas station, at the fuel pump, told me I need to hurry up and pump my truck and move because he needed to pump his truck. I literally had just pulled up in the truck in the fuel aisle. He threatened me, got out his truck, started doing all kind of. I actually took the picture of him and I put it on my community tab. You have to go way back into, like, I think it happened in April. I took a picture of him in his truck, and I made a video. I was in tears because I called the police. Because I was like, what if this man follows me after I leave the truck stop? Called me an N-word, called me a bitch. I mean, he called me every defamatory name, and people are like, oh, I would have did this, I would have did that. No, you wouldn't, because you don't know where these people coming from. You don't know the mentality. So I told him I was recording him, and he got even more volatile. So if he's not even afraid of being seen, and then he went to another white man and was trying to get him to be like, yeah, she's in the aisle. And then the white man is like, what? Like, why? Like, stop. The white man didn't say anything, but you could see it on his face. He didn't want no parts of it. And all the brothers came up to me and was like, are you good? And I was shaking. I was like, I don't know. Like, and they was like, well, we're going to wait with you until he leaves. Did you know this man drove off and waited by the exit of the truck stop? He waited. And then the cops came, right? He must have seen the cops like a couple of, lights down, because he drove off, and it seemed like maybe 2 minutes later the cops came. They took the report. I showed them the picture of the guy, and they was like, all right, we're going to go drive around. It was a white and a black cop. And by the time the cops came, my hands were shaking, because I was like, I've never experienced, because, I'm in these towns where it's just mostly white people that have this ideology. Not all of them, I'm just saying. So I'm like shaking, and they was like, all right, we took the report. So I thought they didn't really care. So I drive off, and I'm like panicking, looking around, making sure that dude is nowhere in sight. He had a old Freightliner. And then when I got on the highway, the cops, it was 2 cop cars. One was in front of me and one was behind, and they both beeped at me, and they put the hazard lights on, and they drove with me for about maybe 5 to 10 miles. And I was like, wow, look at God. But I was still so shaken up, because I was like, I never been so verbally assaulted, and I'm just pumping my gas. My fuel. I was working. And I was thinking to myself, should I tell the company about this? Because this was a different company now that I'm working for. Now, mind you, the first incident, I was working for Truck Smith Transport, where that white guy got me fired. So this is another company I'm at, which is more recent. And I'm thinking to myself, should I call this in? Will they say it's my fault? And I called my friend, and they were like, nah, you got the police report on your side now. So, now you really got, nobody can say you did anything. And that was another reason why I didn't go say anything to the white dude, because I was like, what if he tried to say I said something to him first? So when I first pulled into the truck stop, I was, you got to log that you're about to get fuel. That's part of your DOT requirement. So I'm logging in my tablet that I'm getting fuel, and then I'm about to step out. When that white guy pulled up behind me, he laid on his big horn. The big horn, he's like, bah. So I thought something happened. I got frazzled. So I'm looking around like, what? Like, I thought somebody got hit, and he's doing it to me. So I'm like, why is he? He just laid on the horn for about 3 minutes straight. People were coming out the truck looking like, what's going on? It felt like the devil was right there with me. And I got out, and I was like, so he's doing this inside the window, like, whatever he's saying, like he's like raging. So I was like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? So I get out, and I got my little fuel card, and I'm punching in the numbers. He's still beeping and holding the horn. So I'm doing that, but I can't concentrate because the horn, he's doing that. So I look over, and I'm like, what are you doing? So he jumps up, he jumps out. He's like, get the fuck on. You've been there for, he's like, you're taking too long. I'm like, oh my gosh. I literally just pulled in. And even, let's say I was there for maybe 5 minutes longer than what he likes. You don't get to just tell somebody to move. Maybe you don't know what could have been going on inside the truck. You know what I'm saying? I could have spilled something, and I'm cleaning it up first. But you don't get to regulate how long somebody should take at the pump. So this is what was his problem. So I'm like, why don't he just go to another pump? People were coming and leaving, coming and leaving. That's what us truck drivers do. If we see that somebody's there a little bit longer than we would like, We just go to another pump. It was a huge truck stop. I think it was a Love's. And it wasn't like it was only 2 to 3 pumps open. All the pumps were open. I seen people coming and going. He decided he was going to just target me. So I was like, he said I'm taking long. So I'm thinking to myself, why is he picking on me? So I was like, I just got here. I don't know if he was reading my lips because we wasn't that close. So he gets out the truck and he was like, I watched you. I watched you. I watched you pull in. You on your little phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So my phone was mounted on the truck. So I had to pull my phone down. And I don't make videos while I'm driving. I don't make videos while I'm pumping. So it was like, there was no reason for me to be on the phone. So he was literally lying. So the only thing he probably could have seen was me pulling the phone off the mount. But I was reaching over to the tablet to punch in that I'm about to fuel, because you have to put that in for your hours. So I'm like, why was he watching me in the first place? He's like, I watched you. I saw you on the phone. So I said, you need to chill. I just got here. I have to fuel. So he gets back in the truck and he goes back on the horn again. And I was like, could you stop? Could you stop? And he's like, no, fuck that, you fucking bitch. You need to get the fuck on. You need to get the fuck on. So I was like, you're crazy. So I'm like trying to ignore him at this point. And I seen he wouldn't stop. So I go and I put the phone on like this. So the phone is recording and I'm still pumping my gas. I'm still trying to punch the numbers in while I'm like shaking at this point, because I was like, oh my gosh, he's making a scene. And it just escalated from that. He just kept going, kept going. So some guy had to actually come up to him and was like, there's a pump open over there. So I'm thinking he would stop after that. He gets over to the next pump and I have to go on the other side to go put the thing inside the other side, the fuel. And he's looking at me and he was like, you fucking nigger bitch. You fucking nigger bitch. It was, I mean, I'm laughing now, but I'm just trying to get y'all to see. Y'all be seeing me smiling and stuff, but I be going through it too. Just like y'all, like with the racist weirdos. And it's just like, it just don't stop. And this happened in 2024. 2024. The last incident happened in 2022. In 2023, actually. It was another incident. So, and all these incidents seem to happen more so in the South, in the Midwest. The other incident when I was younger happened in New York City, where this white man spit in my face. He hawk spit in my face because he couldn't fit on the train. It was a crowded day. I was coming home from work. People trying to get on the train. And because there was no more space, he hawk spits on me. I'm just like, and so he was pushing on me, trying to get into the cart. And everybody's like, there's no space. There's no space. Because that's how, New Yorkers do. And he just hawk spits on me. And I pushed him back off the train, but it was spit on my face. And then the doors closed. And he's like, you fucking animal. That's what they do. When they get mad, they get unhinged. When they don't like black people, they get unhinged about it. It's just like they can't even hide it no more. So that's why I was just saying, be careful who you vote in, because when they feel like now they don't have to answer to nobody and they don't like you, you're going to see the real, what racism really looks like. It's going to be like back in Jim Crow days. You're going to have to move over on the train or else. And I just cannot phantom living like that again. It's already bad now with the segregation. You go to certain parts of the South and it's so segregated still. You go into the store, the whole store gets quiet because your black ass came in. How you think that makes us feel as black people? And it's not like you got on a hoodie and a mask and you look like you about to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You come in there with your little small child, you got your little church dress on, you probably just came out of an event, but because you look like melanated, the whole store stops quiet, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, looking at you with the beady eyes like you about to steal or some shit. This is what we go through. And then you wonder why people got an attitude. Why they just get tired of the shit and they don't want to hear anything you got to say past the first sentence? Because we can hear racism. As soon as you open your mouth, we know what type of time you be on. We could look in your eyes. We could read your soul. And we could tell you're racist. And like, well, nobody said anything. We didn't say anything. So because you didn't use the N-word, we can't tell silent racism? So you talk to everybody else in the store. I remember another time I went to Love's truck stop and the guy at the register, white guy, helping all the white people act like I ain't standing here. So then when I open my black mouth and like, excuse me, they make you feel like, oh, look how loud she wants to get. She's so rude. Oh, it's just gaslighting. Gaslighting at its freaking finest. They don't like when people call them out. But I'm the type of chick I'm going to call you out if I feel it's a safe enough environment. I don't feel like going toe-to-toe with a truck driver is safe. But if it's a cashier and I know I ain't going to get my brains blown out, then yeah, I might say something like, excuse me, hello, you know? So that's the topics that I feel we should discuss. And I feel like it should be no hate, no calling names. That's the thing. It's like, why can't people say what they got to say without saying something nasty? Like the dude yesterday can't even control himself because he mad that I'm saying the truth. And now you want to insult me. Oh, this is a boring video. Well, nobody asked you for your fucking opinion. Step the fuck off. This is what I get tired of. It's like they feel like since they can't beat you, they got to try to like poke at you. You know, poke the bear and shit like that. This is what we're dealing with. Silent racism. They do it in microaggressions. Like my daughter was saying, it's called microaggression. Since it's not overtly aggressive, they feel like they slick. But y'all ain't slick enough because we can read shit. We've been through it so much, we can read it now. In your soul, in your eyeballs, in your disposition. 75% of communication is non-verbal. Did you get the memo? So you don't have to blatantly say the N-word for us to understand y'all don't like our black ass. And like I said, this is a disclaimer. I am not talking to all white people. I am talking to racist pricks. We tired of it. We tired of it. We tired of living under y'all fucking thumb. And these are the type of topics that I'm not seeing enough of. Everybody want to sweep Project 2025 under the rug. Y'all going back to Jim Crow days. Y'all ready for that? We talk about the Democrats and the shit that they're doing. Yeah, they're letting all the immigrants in and all that stuff. That's bad. But the Jim Crow days, that's way worse. And at the end of the day, if these laws are only being passed to help a certain group of people, why y'all sitting up there acting like that's a good thing? So now these people are going to progress even further, and we're still stuck at the bottom. Right now, everybody's stuck at the bottom. Right now, we're all suffering. So now we have no choice but to band together, all races. But when Trump gets in office, it's going to be a certain type of people that's going to progress. And those people are going to look down on the other people. What you going to do then? What you going to do then when you can't even function on your everyday activities because now you're really being oppressed? It's going to go back to how it was back when freaking Rodney King, all those days. I really was hoping this new presidency was going to look better, but I'm already seeing it now. I'm already seeing the tensions growing. I'm already seeing it. It's just like, it's not a good look. And even if Kamala win, it's not good. It's not a good look because these people are going to be hella mad. These Trump supporters are going to be hell of mad. And I'm not talking about regular Trump supporters. I'm talking about the good old boys. The ones that went up in Congress and was ready to unalive some shit. There's a lot more of them people that you don't realize, living in every neck of the woods. Even in there's actually more in the north that you don't realize, upstate. So, what are you gonna do when they become unhinged? This is what we're dealing with. When they say take America back, what do y'all think they're talking about? You think they're talking about helping your black ass? Like, we gotta wake up and smell the tea. You gotta wake up and see what's going on. It can't just be me, and I'm not just hoping for a woman president. This had nothing to do with Kamala. I'm just seeing what it could be if this racist prick get in office. I know you Trump supporters is like, oh, he's not racist. Oh, you're delusional. That's fine. That's fine. I have nothing against y'all. I'm talking about the good old boys. The ones that really understand the true agenda, that understands Project 25 for what it really is. Y'all little Trump supporters, y'all really just innocent. Y'all really don't know no better. Y'all really want this country to go in a better direction. And I don't blame y'all. I'm actually with you on that. I'm not making fun of your voting decisions. I'm not. I just understand that there's two agendas going on under this one president. When you first open the Project 2025, they already know that you're going to read with the, you know how people could say, oh, bless you. Oh, God bless you, right? But you don't know what God they're talking about. So there's two agendas. You might be thinking, oh, well, from my perspective, they're talking about the good God, right? And you're like, oh, thank you so much. That's why Muslims always say, mashallah, when people give them compliments. Because we don't know what agenda your compliment is coming from. This is no shade against your agenda. This is just a protection for the person. For example, one time I had got my nail done and I put the Trinidadian flag, and I was at this supermarket, and this Indian girl, she was behind the register, and she's like, oh my God, I always wanted my nail like that. How'd you do it? Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, thank you. And as soon as I left the supermarket, I get in my car, the door slammed on that finger. I normally say mashallah to anything like that, but the door slammed on my finger. I'm not saying she had ill intent, but sometimes when a person wants what you have, they don't realize that they conjure up spirits by saying, oh, girl, I want that bag. Oh, girl. That's why you got to be careful what comes out of your mouth when you're wishing things. It's called covetousness. When you covet something, it doesn't mean you might be coming from a bad place. It just means like you really, really want it so bad that you're like, oh my God, I like that. I want that. So this is the thing that you don't realize is like, some people are coming from different agendas that you're not cognizant of. So you might be thinking you are just celebrating change, a new president, but you're not realizing the behind the scenes. The Republicans are worshiping Satan. You're not realizing that because they say church, church, church. Do you know there's a whole bunch of types of churches that actually use the word God? Like, that's why certain religions specify which God. You got some religions will specify the Jehovah God. They say Jehovah Jireh. They'll say Allah, subhanallah. They'll say, Buddha. Like, they'll specify the name because they don't want the confusion of the word God. It could be any God. There's demigods, there's dark gods, there's sun gods. There's so many different gods. So when you just say, oh, I believe in God, what God do you believe in? Because the God that I believe in wouldn't do what you're talking about. So because I say the word church, okay, they could be a church of Satan. They got Catholics. And I don't want people that's Catholic to take what I'm saying wrong. But they got popes that worship this deity that sacrifice children, that are predatorial towards children. Certain priests, and the reason why they don't feel bad about it is because that's part of the ceremony. Not all Catholics. Not all Christians. I'm not saying that. I'm just letting y'all understand that because you might say, okay, well, I just think Trump is a cool guy. I don't have no problems with him. A lot of people think he's a cool guy. I'm not saying that. But what about what he's following? What about his belief system, his value system? If he's in allegiance to the Republicans, what you keep looking at Trump, but why are you not looking at the whole Republican agenda? What is the Republicans' whole ideology? What is their minhaj? They say they believe in God. What kind of God? What type of Christians are you? Because you got the Christians. There's certain Christians. I can't remember the name of those Christians. Oh, the Seventh-day Adventists. One of those Christians where, from what I heard, they don't even really like black people in their religion. I remember they had like a whole reality show about it, where this girl, she was a black girl, and she was trying to be down with their religion, and she was always having problems with them. I want to say it's the Seventh-day Adventists, I think. I don't remember the name of the actual denomination, but my nose always itch because I have allergies. But you got to start taking this stuff serious. Do your research and, do what you got to do. I'm not trying to convince y'all anyway. I'm just telling y'all what I see and what I think. And I don't see this whole Trump thing looking good. Even my ex-husband, who's a Muslim, was telling me, from listening to Candace Owens, she's a Trump supporter now. She says she's kind of like, she don't really like either party, but she prefers Trump at this point, right? And he be sending me videos from about the Candace Owens talking about Kamala not being a black person. Talking about, oh yeah, girl, I put collard greens in the bathtub, trying to be down, to make it sound like she understands black struggles. So he was sending me videos saying he thinks Kamala's fake and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, word. So he had me thinking a little bit like, well, yeah, let's check out Trump. But then as I started going and looking at some of his old videos and listening to people talking about this Project 2025, and then when he denied it, he said, oh, I don't know what that's about. And yet his name is all through the manifest. And it's like, even if you didn't know about Project 2025 like that, if it's all over the internet, everybody's reading it, and you're running for president, wouldn't you read it? That tells me you're being deceitful. So at this point, now I got to look at you side-eye. And why everybody under your watch, the black guy saying he never read it, everybody ain't never read it yet on the Republican side. Yet it's coming from the Republican side. That don't make you feel mad sus at this point? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to start thinking for myself, because if I let other people get into my head, I start second guessing my first instinct. So, yeah, I mean, let's just see what happens in January. I will be checking in with y'all again come election time and after election time. And hopefully the Republicans prove me wrong and this country goes in a better direction. But, we'll see. But as far as what I was talking about with blacks, we already know that ain't changing. So what can we say? Because even when things were good for the white class, we were still treated like shit. So it ain't even about economic status. It's a belief system. It's a belief system that blacks are not even human. We've been considered dehumanized. When you can dehumanize a person, it helps you to sleep at night and say, well, yeah, they deserve to be lynched. They deserve to be stabbed. They deserve to be shot. It doesn't bother you anymore. When do we get to the point where we become human to society and not the stepchildren or the outcasts? When does that happen? When do we get allowed to show our real hair and be okay with other races saying, oh, that's nice, without looking like, why is her hair so coily? Why is her skin so dark? Oof. You know what I mean? Like, why do you feel like you have to get that stench? It's like, what are those? Are those locks? I remember when I first had wore yarn locks, and this is back in the early 2000s, I think. And I was on a train, and this white woman was like, "Those are interesting. What are those?" But you know what I had liked? I think it was some people from either UK or some other country. It was white people, and they was like, "You are gorgeous. Those are so pretty." They was like, "Yes, baby, we loving it." Like, it wasn't a problem. But it was the American white. She was like, "What? Those?" It was like I was a science experiment or something. She's like, "Can I touch it? Like, can I touch it?" Before she complimented me. And back then I didn't. I was just like, whatever. So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she was like, "Oh, interesting. Like, it feels like spongy." Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the era I come from. Even in the public schools, their children were trained not to touch our hair. I remember the little white girls, because I went to an all white school when I first came to this country, and I used to have the little ribbons with the little puff tails. And when it was time for they call it like playtime or free time, the white girls would touch their hair and braid each other hair, and then I would ask, "Can I braid it?" Because I was always interested in hair. That's why I became a cosmetologist in 2009. And they'll be like, "No, no, you can't touch our hair." Just mad rude, and but then they'll touch each other hair. So this is something I experienced from little. I can remember when I was about, had to been about 7 or 8, and I didn't understand why the white girls were so, they would talk to me, but it was like a nice nasty, right? And I remember sitting next to them, and I would say, in my mind as a kid, I was like, is it because of my brown skin? And I remember one day I put my hand next to the white girls. She didn't know I was doing that. We was just sitting next to each other, and I had put my hand near hers, and I said, I noticed that it was like 2 shades darker, and I was like, as a child, I'm like, is it because of my skin color? Like, I felt it. That's why I said silent racism is something that white people will never understand. They can dish it, but they can't take it because they're not black. So until you actually walk a day in our shoes, or maybe like, let's say you've been married to someone that is of that nationality, melanated, or you have children, and you won't necessarily fully feel it, but you can relate. And I noticed that when they start to intermingle, they are more relatable on our topics. So maybe sometimes, the interracial dating does help. I'm not really of the Dr. Umar stance where he says interracial dating is a no-no. I think it actually helps them to understand our struggles. However, there was studies done on mixed children, how they end up more mentally ill than black children. I mean, I won't say black. Mixed children sometimes end up more mentally ill than fully melanated children, fully black children. The word black is universal at this point, so y'all know what I mean, because you could be black from any territory, any native land. They were saying the reason why that is because those two races are on such extreme totem poles that sometimes they don't really know, okay, where do I fit in when it comes to the race situation. But if it was like black and Latina or Latino, it's not as strong of a stigma. Or black and Asian is not as strong as a stigma. But when it comes to mulatto, black and white, and I know because I have mixed nephews and nieces, and they all tell me the same thing. They say sometimes I feel like I don't fit in with the white people, and she said, but they did say they do feel a little bit more of a connection with blacks. However, even with the blacks, you gotta remember, we go back to the Willie Lynch theory. The Willie Lynch theory was turn the slaves against one another. The lighter slaves go in the house, and you would be specially treated as the, how you say, the superior Negro. And then the ones that stayed in the field burning under the suns, it was like they were the hard, brute, aggressive Negroes. So now they would say, Oh, well, if I beat the dark, aggressive Negro in front of the light Negro will realize, okay, I need to act more soft, more docile, less aggressive. So when they started seeing that biracial kids were just as aggressive, it started to kind of confuse white people. It confused the masses because they're like, well, I thought the more watered down they are, the less aggressive they will become. But then it became where sometimes in some situations the biracial kids be more aggressive because they have a point to prove. Because my nieces and nephews always tell me that I have to be the tougher one. I have to fight. I have to beat people down. Like, I can't just fight regular. I have to beat your ass in order to prove that I am black. And this is the dynamics that they're dealing with mentally. And it caused mental dysfunction. Because now the white people say, well, you can't be aggressive and come around our territory. But then you are a part of them because your blood, your DNA is white. But then you can't be too docile when you come around the black because they're like, oh, you might be a traitor. You acting too posh. You think you better than us? Oh, you think because you got that straight hair, you look good? You think you look better than me? This is you drive these kids crazy because now they stuck in the middle. This is what they go through. So that's why I said we have a lot. The mental damage is real. We have a lot of work to do. That's why we need to come to the table, both races, and sit down and really fix this shit. We can't keep waiting on the government to fix racial tension. No, we need to socially fix it ourselves. It's possible to fix social tensions yourself. Once you fix the social tensions, the government don't have as much interplay into the situation. They'll be carrying out all these rules and regulations and craziness, and it will be more prevalent for you to see, oh, they trying to play us against each other. I see what's going on. But since we don't want to do that because we want the privilege of the government, so we keep quiet and we keep going along with the shit until we can't go along no more. You can't get along, you can't go along no more. Now what? There's going to come a time where the rubber meets the road. Now what? Now what you gonna do? You gotta stand for something at some point in your life. If your life ever meant anything, what are you gonna stand for? And this is outside of politics at this point. I'm talking to y'all as human to human. Fuck the politics right now. What are you gonna do socially to set this record straight? Because if whoever's in office at this point, that is out of your control. Whether you're a Trump or Kamala supporter, that is out of our control at this point. What are you going to do socially to fix the shit? Are you going to keep calling black people victims? Black people, are you going to keep tearing each other down with skin complexions? And feeding into this Willie Lynch syndrome and helping white superiority? At some point, we have to stop. We have to stop tearing our women down. We have to stop tearing our children apart. Socially, we got to get it together too. Because the government wouldn't have as much power and influence over us if our social cognition wasn't already fucked. Behaviors come from environmental influences. Why do you think that they can train humans in the military to all act alike? Because the way we are as humans, we're social creatures. So we can be socially trained to either act right or to not act right. According to B.F. Skinner, the psychologist, you can reward a person with reinforcement or you can punish a person with reinforcement. So when you go into the military, what do? They do those tactics. It's called classical conditioning, operant conditioning. So you absolutely can change your behavior. You just have to be in the mindset that, okay, now that I've been conditioned to hate black people, or I've been conditioned to hate my own race, or I've been conditioned to prejudice against certain things in my own race, like skin tone, okay, or height, or hair color or anything, eye color. Okay, now how do I reprogram myself? So now you have to go around people that are not like that anymore. You have to be around people that don't think that diabolical. But if you keep hanging out with people that are diabolical, if your family members are talking about black people as if they're the scum of the earth, you might need to either check them and become the dissenter. In order for things to change, you either have to be a dissenter or a person that is like, okay, you know what? It's time for me to find a new crew. It's time for me to set the pave and recondition myself around something else. If I can't do it for myself, I need to be around the environment that will help me to get there. Stop making excuses. Oh, well, the government made me like this. My family made me like this. You still have a choice in the end of the day. You still have a choice to say, am I going to continue being evil and do the wrong thing, or I'm going to change my life today and be right and get right with the Creator? Because at the end of the day, whether you want to believe in the afterlife or not, you got a price to pay for the shit. Because that will be asked to you on the day of judgment. What did you do within your own power to help stop racism? You think God likes the bloodshed of innocent black children and all that stuff, and black people going through the shit that they got to go through on a daily basis just to make a living or just to exist? There's karma for everything we do, whether it's good karma or bad karma. Do you want your generation to come to pay for the sins that we do today? I know I don't. I know I want my kids to be able to sleep at night knowing that the stuff that I did in this generation is not going to affect my next generation. Black people, do you want your generation to feel the stench of what we did, spreading the Willie Lynch mentality? It's not right. It's not right that we continue to perpetrate these bad habits and bad ideologies. It's wrong. So white people have to be just as inclusive and interdependent on us fixing this. We as a people, white people as a people, we got to fix this. We can't wait on Trump to fix this. Even if Trump gets voted in, we still got to fix this mess as human beings. Trump didn't give birth to us. Why are we waiting on Trump to do the right thing? Why are you waiting on God to come out the sky to figure this shit out? This is what I'm talking about. We just think so close-mindedly. I forgot to take my vitamins. I take these every day. And some other vitamins. I got to take my iron pills. I have low iron. So after I eat breakfast, I usually take ferrosis sulfate or some shit. Anyways, enough of me. I hope you guys have a blessed day. I didn't make this video to try to offend nobody. Whoever you pick is your decision. I'm not judging you. I'm just keeping it real, and I'm looking at what's going on in society, and I'm just telling y'all how I feel about it. Y'all could drop me a comment. Like I said, when I finish my master's degree, I still got about 7 months to go. I want to start doing the work, not just out here, but online, and maybe start some programs that can bridge these gaps. We've got to bridge the gap between men and women. We're having a lot of gender wars, gender ideologies. You know, men think they're better than women in some aspects. We got to get to a point where people just be who they want to be. No more oppressing people. No more putting pressure on people to be more than what they can or less than what they are. We got to stop that. You got some powerful women out here, and they ain't trying to be men. Just because a woman is powerful doesn't mean she's trying to be a man. God gave us just as much right to think, to have intelligence, to have strength, to have brains, and still be a woman. And some men don't want to accept that. You see what I'm saying? But if America is the land that they say you can be all you want to be, they need to start there. If your children say they want to be something and you're not cool with it, ask yourself why. Because you're going under social norms. Well, everybody else is a doctor. Everybody is a nurse. Okay, but they miserable. Not everybody that wants to be a doctor became a doctor because they want to be a doctor. Some of them became a doctor because their parents forced them to be a doctor. If your child came and said, hey, Mom, I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician. You don't have to squash their dreams. You know, you could be like, listen, I don't got no problem with you being a doctor and stuff like that. But do you think maybe, a musician, but do you think maybe you could get a little part-time job while pursuing your goals? But you don't got to tear them down and be like, oh, hell no, no son of mine, no daughter of mine gonna be no goddamn artist. This is why we having these problems now. These kids can't stand you. Your mate, your spouse can't stand you. Because you got all these oppressive ideas because society has trained you to not be yourself, to not like anything that's organic. The kids are tired of that shit. In a way, I kind of respect the new generation. I don't want to say kinda. I do respect the new generation. There is things that they need to learn from us too. That's why we both got to learn from each other, right? And you know that show that Jada Pinkett made called The Red Table Talk? I know she's weird. I get it. But what I like about when she first came out with came on the scene, she had said, we need to get the generations together to have a discussion. So she had the moms, her daughter, and a son, I think, and her. I think if families did that more often, or maybe just even do a Zoom, right? You have a Zoom night where it's called generational night, where you have like your moms, instead of just like a bunch of people the same age, just a bunch of 30-year-olds just going back and forth cackling. Maybe get your moms in there, or your dad, or some generational person, your auntie, your uncle, you, and then maybe one or two, your children, that's the more outspoken one. And y'all all come on a Zoom together with other people all across the globe, and y'all discuss these real topics. Bridge the gap. They said the cohort of the younger generation is called entitlement. So the cohort that's their culture, that's their ideology. It has nothing to do with their age group or the generational group. It's just that they became a whole different sect of ideologies, values, and belief systems than the generation called the baby boomers and our generation called the generational X, the latchkey kid generation. The baby boomers and the latchkey, their cohort system is follow authority, don't ask too many questions, and conform to social norms. The millennials, Gen Zs, and the Gen Ys, or whatever they call it, they came up with their own system. That's why they seem so different from this generation and the generation prior to us, right? They came up with their own generation. They realized, why nobody asks questions? Why nobody asks questions about religion? Why do I have to follow this religion? Why do I have to go to work from only 9 to 5? Why are jobs not making it where you can go to work when you wake up at this time, 10 to 7? They started making the innovation to change. So we got to respect them for that. They're the ones that came up with the idea of standing up on a chair while you work. Because we, the conformists, I don't want to call myself a conformist. I've always been weird like that and asked questions. And I used to get beatings for it. They made the system of standing up while working. The chairs, they call it the aerodynamic chairs or something, where the chairs can rise so your legs are not squished up all day long in a sitting position and you're getting arthritis. The body's meant to move around. So they was like, why do I have to sit in this cubicle like a prisoner just to bring you business? If I'm making phone calls all day, Why can't I walk around the office and you just get me a wireless headset? So that way I like coming to work. Why can't I do some of my job from a remote and a computer and I don't have to go to work every day? Why? Why can't I include my family into work? Why can't I have my child come to work one day out of the week? All of these things came from the millennials. All of these ideas. You got some other countries where you can bring your child to work and stuff like that. Why America don't do that? Because they want you to be work slaves. They don't want you to have a life outside of the corporation. You're a slave. You're a cattle. So all these things need to be on the forefront. I don't hear Trump talking about that. Somebody said, oh, well, he's paying for college. We need to pay for more than college. We have a whole lot of other shit to discuss before we even get to the college. We need to talk about the babies, the shit that's happening to the young kids. We don't have no basketball courts. They're closing down the parks in New York. The homeless people is just out of control. Like this, we got a lot to talk about. So, yeah, that's what I said. I can go on and on and on about black topics. So we just have to take this stuff one day at a time. Anyways, you guys have a blessed day and try not to work too hard. Love y'all. Bye.